Hello everybody. So, I just finished watching a movie called The Montgomery Boy Bus Boycott. And it's based on real events back in the day, when the segregation was happening, and there was these buses and people of color could not ride in the front of the bus. They had to pay their fee and walk in the back door instead of the back of the bus. And this really inspired me to make a video post about the injustice in our world and some ways that I think that we can change it. And this movie was super emotional to watch, just to see how cruel humans can be. And I've been there. I've been one of them. I know what it's like to put gay people down, or to even beat someone up because they're different. Um, I know what it's like to walk as someone that's experienced maybe some racism, or just pure hatred for people for no good reason, including myself and my family. And to be able to move past that into a space of empathy and compassion, it takes work. And thank God for people like Martin Luther King. Sorry, dog fur. And thank God for, the people that have actually stood up for change. And so, sorry, I'm super emotional. I literally just turned the film off, and the end of it was phenomenal because of this boycott. Black people, people of color, they earned the right to sit wherever they want on the bus in this one small town. And so I want to talk to you today about some ideas, and please, I hope someone out there, if you're watching this video and you want to collaborate with me or hire me to do a talk for free somewhere on this, I've just felt like a huge calling in my life to get this message out. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe this isn't what the world needs, and maybe, some of it's true, and maybe I am right. I don't know. I can't even know until we get this message out there. And I'm really just trying to team up with people in this world that share this vision. Unfortunately, we are the minority, but if you look at people of color's rights in the past, and you see how the majority of white people were very racist, and it took the rising of the minority to overcome that. And it took courage, and it took bravery. And I'll tell you a little bit about this movie, and I just want to talk about how we treat the earth, right? And how we treat the animals. Humans in Canada have a pretty good nature to them for the most part, and how they treat their kids. I'd say most people are good people here. And when it comes to the earth, it's not the same thing. And I don't want to fight against evil here. If we could rally the troops and stay true to the laws of manifesting, if you want to partner with me and you can make this happen, I'd say instead of having an anti-war or anti-destroy the planet rally, no more pipelines, picket signs with stop tearing down the forest, I feel like we need a new way. Instead of fighting against the evil, we celebrate the good. And I want to create a rally like that, and I learned this from the movie The Secret. But most of all, what I want to do is get on the news. If you're watching this and you work with CNN or CKUA or CBC or something, I would love to come and speak up for this, because there is a solution, you guys, And when I talk about animals, I'm not saying we all have to be vegan or vegetarian. I might be vegetarian, but you do you. But what I'm saying is conventional farms where we are torturing animals and putting them into really small confined spaces. So, okay, what I want to talk about today is like little solutions that each of us can do to help the world. Because honestly, I'm sick and tired of waiting on the government and waiting to vote and waiting to hear what they say and waiting to hear, what the solution is. And the news, as well intent as some of the news broadcasters are, and I don't really know them personally, I can't speak to that and what kind of people they are when they go home to their families. As well intentioned as they might be, and maybe this video will get censored, but I feel like they're coming from a place of fear. I'll give you COVID-19, for example. As a herbalist and a holistic practitioner, I really believe that how COVID was handled, was really sad. And like, I took a vaccine because I believed it was the best. And I'm not getting into that debate. I fully support anybody that chose not to. And the news was just like bombarded with fear, like statistics, death rates, and vaccination rates, and saying the only solution is a vaccine and a mask and social distancing. And the main solution for me was not that. It was nutrition, herbal medicine. When I had COVID, I drank some feverfew tea, I got in a really hot bath, I sweated out, it was better in a couple days. I was watching a documentary or video on YouTube how in China they had done studies on herbs, because they're way above the Western world out there, and in like their primary medicine is herbal. And yet, so very few people were talking about it. Even something simple like garlic. And like, it's like the news is full of like fear and talking about the environmental issues and just fighting against whether climate change is real or whether it's human caused or whether it's always been here. And it's like, why are we fighting about the things we can't prove or control? Like, what can we control? And so that's what I want to talk about today, is like, how do we actually step up as individuals? How do we actually make a difference? Even if we can't save the world, and maybe we can, and maybe it's worth a freaking try. And even if we can't, then at least we can feel like we're doing our part. And maybe that's enough for our lives, in our karma, in our kids' future. And maybe we lose this war. And maybe we don't. Maybe we win it. And so I want to put out a few tips on how to navigate this and how to feel like you're part of the solution, and not part of the pollution. And I am not a freaking expert on this. I suck at this in a lot of areas. But I'm doing the best I can. And I feel like the more that I can talk about this with people and acknowledge that you don't have to be a superhero, you don't have to be perfect to start making changes today. And even in the health food world, I've seen people skeptical about the stuff that I'm about to say. And that's okay. And yeah, this is going to be met with resistance. And people are freaking scared to change. It's like trying to convince an elderly person to recycle that's maybe Christian and is like, well, we don't have to save the earth because we're going to go to heaven and it doesn't matter. And I'm here to tell you that what we do on this earth matters more now than ever, and we are at a tipping point. And if we continue on the way that we're going and we don't actually take accountability and responsibility, if you guys watched Avatar, and I'm not saying this is true, but spoiler alert, at the end of Avatar, how all the people that joined the teams with the native people and protected the land and fought against the people that just wanted to steal it for the minerals or whatever it was, I can't remember, that was in the earth. And they brought people on spaceships from another planet, which was planet Earth, to basically take over this one and destroy communities. And this is happening today. around the world, especially here in Canada. And I don't want to get into the debate of like pipelines and we shouldn't, like drill for oil. Like, I don't want to fight against this system that we're all a part of. Obviously, I ride in cars and like transportation is important. So I'm not going to go there today because I don't know that that's the solution. I don't know if electric cars or solar panels or wind turbines or water turbines, whatever they're called, are the solution. People talk about it both ways. And it's so impossible to even know until we actually try something and we see what kind of a difference that it would make. So we need to each decide what our values are. So aside from all of that and that debate, there's some simple key tips I really want to teach you guys about coming back into balance with the earth. And so, sorry about that. Hey Luna girl. Dog's giving me bark face here. Hi baby, you want to come say hi? No. Let's maybe start with taking care of the animals. I'm not gonna say you all gotta be vegetarian like me. I mean, we all have to make decisions and follow our values, and people have been eating meat for so long. It's a hard one to give up. And so instead of focusing on what we, if we should eat animal products or not, let's talk about how we treat the animals. She came over to me to remind me that that's the next message to talk about. You want to come sit with mommy? Up, 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 up. And so, yeah, do you guys even know this? Because a lot of people I tell this to, they don't even believe me. And they're like, how could that be true? That's impossible. Government would never allow for that. People would never do that. That's just ridiculous. And like, maybe we needed factory farms for a while to feed the masses. And maybe we didn't. And I'm not going down that rabbit hole of arguing. And it's really hot in here, so I'm going to take my sweater off. And so, yeah, so talking about the, I'm trying to do this in a way where I'm not fighting against what's wrong. I'm trying to do this in a way where I'm teaching about what's right. And it's not a matter of fighting against something or, against people. It's not a matter of getting angry at people and saying you're evil and we're good and you're going to hell and we're not, and how dare you, and none of that. No, like, this is a new approach of compassion for even the evil people in the world that are doing the most evil things. It's like they're human. They're doing the best they can. They're doing what they were taught. They're doing what they know. There's farmers that are just want to make a living for their families, and they really believe that what they're doing is helpful. Just like the oil drillers, just like the pipeline builders, just like a lot of the government. They have families and they're like, I just want to make a better future. And I don't want to get into that debate on whether politicians are good or evil. Like, I don't know. I haven't done a better job than they could. I haven't ran for president. I didn't dedicate my life to that. I'm just someone with an opinion. I didn't even vote. And I don't even recycle a lot of the time because I can't even keep my kitchen clean, honestly. And so I just throw it in the garbage. And then some days I'm just like, I just want to go to Tim Hortons and buy a freaking coffee. And I feel so bad to be a part of this pollution, but we do what we can and we don't give up and we keep trying new things. And me making this video is trying new things. What if the ads that were on our TV were for charities? And some of them are. What if we learned how to use natural medicines like they do at Light Cellar for healing, instead of always going to our doctor and giving away our control and our power to them so that they can give us drugs that are making us even more sick? And I'm not saying that pharmaceuticals don't have their place. I take them. I take them for schizophrenia. I take them for digestive issues. Without them, I don't know if I would be here. But I work with the herbs. If I have strep throat, give me antibiotics. If I have a cough or a cold, don't give me antibiotics. Like, they're way overprescribed, and then when you actually need them, they won't work because you've overused them. And we're getting all these systems in our gut that's becoming antibiotic resistant because we've overused it. And so returning to the natural ways, spending time in nature, gardening, growing food, all these simple things that bring us back to balance. And so talking about the whole food system, so factory farms, what is a factory farm and what's an organic, ethically raised free range farm? Huge difference, you guys. What are pesticides versus organic? And what are some charities that we can support today that will make a freaking difference in the world? Because we are, and I don't even give to these charities every month because some months I'm just like, I can't afford it. And then when I don't give to them, I feel like I have even less at the end of the month than when I do, even though I have less money of my own. It's hard to explain. It's a karma thing. And so the local system of farmers markets and like buying products that are local, like I will buy bananas and oranges, you know, because I need that nutrition in my life and I need my smoothies with my superfoods and herbs and stuff. But I do try to buy apples. And when there's local peaches and plums and apricots and cherries, I try to buy those. And, you know, reading labels of products and seeing, you know, you may have two identical products on the shelf and actually picking it up. And this is something that I could be better at, but I do a little more since the tariff thing started, is to read labels and be like, well, where does this come from? Because like local food is going to sit in a freaking truck, or sorry, not sit in a truck, years long of stuff coming from elsewhere. And when we create local systems, we create a network of communities where we're all helping each other. It's like, oh, you've got this. What do I have? What is my gift? And this whole energy exchange isn't just through food and money. Everything that we spend our money on, it ripples out into the world. People could say, well, if I buy factory farm meat, I could buy organic, but it's already on the shelf. So what difference is it going to make if I choose one product? Everyone else is still going to buy the other product, so I might as well buy it too because it's there already. Not realizing that every dollar, every penny, we don't have pennies, but every nickel we spend, it actually is voting for the future that we want. And jumping back and forth here, you guys, but let's talk about organic food. What do you think people are wearing when they're spraying pesticides? They're wearing gas masks because pesticides are known carcinogens. They can cause cancer. They can and do. And I'm not saying if you need to buy pesticide food to feed your family because you can't afford organic food, hey, I get it. I'm not telling you to stop, and I'm not speaking to those people right now. I'm speaking to those who can afford, and maybe it's only part of your diet organic. There's some products that I buy that like I just can't get organic, or I don't have the money sometimes, or maybe I don't have the time to go to a health food store, so I go to a local grocery store in my neighborhood. But I do buy mostly organic, and it has changed my life. It's helped me meet a partner who also buys mostly organic, and so when you find people to have this shared vision with, like the light seller community, for example, changes your life and you don't feel so alone, because for years I was trying to do it on my own. I had like one friend who was buying organic and they kept me going. And it is hard. It's hard being a vegetarian when your family wants to sneak chicken broth in your food, or you know, everywhere you go, people are yelling at you for feeding your dog vegetarian. Like, how dare you do this, you know? And like, I don't know like what it is that people get so upset and they start saying like organic. Well, this is the most common excuse that I hear most of the time is like, well, we can't even prove that the organic food is even organic, because they say that on the news or the websites, and that's ridiculous. It's like, well, for sure most of the non-organic food is definitely non-organic. Yeah, there's a few farms that are organic that can't afford the certification process, but mostly if it says it's organic, it probably is. If it says it's not, it's probably not. And so yeah, there's pesticides that travel in through winds from, neighboring farms or in the soil or whatever. Yeah, that's true. But let's talk about what organic food. It's a way of living. It's a beautiful, harmonious, nourishing way of living. Someone told me this once, and I looked back, and I didn't believe it at first. Like, let's look into this. As I, finally got a internet phone, 7 years ago, and for the first time, and I'd avoided it for a long time. And so as soon as I got it, I just started to like research everything. And then I got Alexa. I'm like always asking her stuff, like, Alexa, tell me about this or tell me about that. It's not really like she comes up with her own answers. She just goes on popular website and just pulls them out and then tells them back to me. And so where was I going with that? I just want to talk about, and I see orbs, so I just saw a beautiful blue orb. So you guys, so I want to talk about like, why do I buy organic and why should you? You can afford it. Oh yeah, so the earliest record of mental illness in the history of humanity, and this could be true or not true, but take it with a grain of dulse. The seaweed, the seaweed that's high in sea salt. Grain of salt, grain of dulse. Okay, yeah, it's so hot in here, I'm taking my socks off. The hottest apartment in the whole building, because we've got windows on both sides, and the heater's broken, and it's summer. We do what we can. So, grateful for my home. And, where were we going? Organic food, mental illness. So, is there a real link between mental illness and pesticides? Maybe if you change your diet and you notice that your circular thoughts start to even out a little bit, and your arguments in your head and the fear of like, oh my god, I'm a part of destroying the planet and where is the future going? And then you start to eat organic and your brain just goes, and come back to the center. And the less toxins we have in our mind, in our liver, in our gut, in our blood, in our body, the less toxins we have, the clearer we can think. If you trying to think of like a parable or a metaphor of like diluting your water with mud, or like we get the water coming out of our tap, which is amazing and beautiful, and we're so blessed to have that, and we can drink it. It's pretty safe. We're pretty lucky to have some of the best tap water in the country here in Calgary. Come cuddles, baby girl. Oh, good girl. Me went to go to the forest today, and so she did so well. So she's super in chill mode right now, and like, hey, I want to be part of your podcast, Mom. I want to be in the show. Instead of giving you bark face, I'm going to give you cuddle face. Bark face is when she wants to be taken out, and cuddle face is when she wants cuddles. And so if you look at curling, how do I say this? Curling photography? I think I read about that in the David Wolf Raw Food Guide. And I tried being raw vegan. It didn't work for me, but you do you. Anyways, the auras they capture in this picture of the beautiful purplish like energy field around plants, and they'll take a picture of an organic product versus a non-organic, and the organic one is more vibrant. So coming back to like the organic diet, it makes us more vibrant. It makes us more in tune with the natural ways of the earth versus the ways that humans have created. So pesticides lower the bee population. Organic food raises the bee population, and we need bees to survive. They pollinate our food. And so, where do you find organic food? Well, I'm glad that you asked. Or maybe you were thinking that. I picked up on it. Just kidding, because you haven't watched this video yet. So, farmers markets are a great way to find local food and products. Health food stores. But you can buy organic in Superstore, Co-op, Safeway, Save-On. Every single grocery store that I know of in the city has a natural organic section, or it's divided throughout the store. Maybe you go to Superstore because it's cheaper. Maybe you're like me and you want to boycott all these stores, just like these people did in the movie I was talking about earlier, the buses. And the less we spend our money on these corporations and we reinvest it into beautiful, vibrant, thriving communities that are really creating the future we want. Good girl, Luna. Luna's gonna lay down. Lay down, baby girls. Good girl. Oh, that's a good girl. That's what I gotta do before podcast. Just take her on a forest walk with Trevor. Thank you, Trevor. Super chill dog all night. Yes. Okay. So, community natural foods. Great organic food store. In the future, there's going to be more health food stores than there will be conventional food stores. And so, head on down to Light Cellar. We're going to find a lot of organic herbs and superfoods. You're going to learn medicines to heal your mind, body, and spirit. You can learn to go on plant walks and wild harvest foods growing in your own backyards and the forest. Here talks about how to deeply nourish your mind, your body, and your spirit with real, whole, organic foods. Maybe you'll make your own sauerkraut. Oh, girl, Luna. Oh, girl. She's like, belly up and rest. And then she'll start running in her dream. Okay, so, the organic. I'm sorry that Planet Organic shut down, but they had the best name ever. Planet Organic. That is my vision and our vision for the future. And it's real, guys. Like, the more we choose to be a part of these communities, the more we're creating the future of conscious evolution, community, balance with the earth, balancing our body system. And so let's talk a little bit about pharmaceuticals versus herbs. So for a long time, I let certain people in my life dictate what I believed about herbal medicine after studying 500 hours in college, in working at a health food store, and learning about herbs and supplements and nutrition. I fell off the wagon. I had some people in my life, one psychiatrist, one pharmacist, and one life partner, that convinced me that herbs were less safe and more dangerous than pharmaceuticals. And for a long time, my body wouldn't handle the herbs. I'd get a throat clearing tic, I'd get short of breath. Come off them for 2 weeks, I could breathe normal, go back on, short of breath. I've had to work with healers and retrain my mind in affirmation, saying, these herbs are blessing my lungs, my stomach, my mind, my heart, my kidney, my liver, my nervous system. And affirmations like, I love my life, it's safe to live, it's my birthright to live freely. And the herbs began to act how they're supposed to act. It was like the anti-placebo effect. I thought they would harm me, and so they did. You go through your life believing that herbs are poison, you're missing out on some of the greatest medicine and healing that this planet has to offer. I just did a talk at Light Cellar today on mental health and herbs and orthomolecular medicine. It's been kind of a lifelong journey of me to learn, how do I teach these these ways. And this is my first speech outside of my mental health clubhouse that I've ever done on the subject. And it was a lot easier to write and research than I thought it would be. And I have a twin sister that's a doctor, and I love her, and I know she's just following her heart and trying to help people, and I love that. And I'm not knocking pharmaceuticals like I used to. There's a place for them. But in a lot of cases, herbs work better. In certain cases, medication works better. In other cases, both work best together. It's a matter of educating yourself and going to the right people or the right books or the right podcasts or the right situations to learn in which situations which is best. And that's not something we have to do on our own. And if you don't know, you can just step into the Light Cellar or Community Foods or Nutrition House or Morning Sun or Sunnyside Market or Herbal Healing at the farmer's market and actually talk to somebody that's gone to school or read some amazing books to learn. And these people are the wisdom keepers of the future. And natural medicines are on the rise. You know, consciousness is on the rise. Natural healing and holistic medicine and tools is on the rise. And so, you know, just learning even how to eat properly, how to nourish yourself. If you want to like change the world around you, start with nourishing your body, mind, and spirit and giving yourself what you need. That means exercise. That means weightlifting at the gym so that you have strong bones and prevent osteoporosis and osteoarthritis. That you have strong muscles so you can chop wood and carry water the rest of your life. Cardio exercise so that your heart will last you years and years and years. And when you begin to really take care of yourself, the world around you will start to shift and other people will be like, wow, you're different. What did you do? And you'd be like, oh, I joined a gym, or I started drinking enough water, or I, left people in my life that were abusive and found people that can love me, or I started studying plants, or I took up a creative hobby, whatever it is. There's so many different healing paths. And so, what else here? So conventional, and the only thing I remember in school, Alexa off. That's my 9 o'clock white noise reminder. Bedtime's coming. Organic food versus conventional. So in school, the only thing I remember them saying about conventional farms was like crop rotation. So having whole fields full of canola oil is not great for the soil. It depletes it. Spraying pesticides is not great for the soil. It depletes it. It's cheaper to spray a pesticide than to hire someone to pick weeds. And farmers claim, oh, it's safer to spray pesticides. I'm less likely to get crop loss and all this stuff. And it's all just kind of brainwashing because organic food is totally the best. And where do we go here? So growing a garden with a variety of foods and rotating crops so that the soil has different nutrients. And a lot of the weeds come in to put nutrients back into the soil. That's why dandelions grow in very unfertile soil, to replenish the soil's nutrients. So when you don't take care of the soil, eventually that soil's got nothing left. You need to move somewhere else, chop down a new forest, and grow there. And when you have organic and you're taking care of the soil and the microbiome of the soil and the biology, and you're feeding it compost or you're taking care of it, that soil, grows richer and richer nutrients over time, and it's sustainable. And these farms can be, regenerated year after year after year. And so learning to get back into the garden and finding a team of people, maybe it's a community garden plot, maybe it's a community garden where you garden with other people for free food. I'm partnering with a friend of mine and my partner to we plant stuff together, because on my own I'm just I don't want to garden on my own. That's no fun. My mom loves it. My grandma loved it. It was a tradition. I wish I could uphold that. But, finding the community of people to grow our own food, getting back into the dirt, getting the dirt under our fingernails, which is immune boosters. Kids that are grown up around animals, that grown up in the garden, on farms and stuff, they actually have better immune systems, especially on holistic farms. And treating animals well and giving them enough space. and really positive, healthy environments, and even giving them some supplements maybe so that their brains work better, and not separating moms from babies when the baby baby comes out, and they separate the moms from the babies so they can get more milk from the cow. Even just putting those babies in a barn where the moms can see them through the window stops the painful breast mastitis that the cows often get. It's like 1/3 of cows get that. And when they're able to see their babies, guess what? The mastitis can improve. And what's the natural treatment of mastitis? Rubbing garlic on the animal's udders. And so just thinking about certain farms that are doing these practices, and regenerative farms, and finding, ways to connect with your permaculture. Permaculture is the term of gardening in a way that's sustainable and ethical and in line with the principles of nature and what nature naturally does, and not fighting against it, but working with them and understanding them and adding things to our soil like clover, putting rain barrels in our backyard where we can actually collect water off of our roof and then feed our gardens with it. Gray water, where we're taking recycled water from the washing machine, putting it on our ornamental flowers, things like that, right? Permaculture. A lot of our ancestors, that's what they did. They grew their own food. My grandparents did it, even in the middle of the war, and they had to do it, and we may think, well, we don't have to do it these days, right? So what's the point? I'd rather just watch TV and I don't know, it's just something really therapeutic about being out in the garden and growing our own food. And so one of the things I really want to talk about too is finding ways to live in balance with nature on a way, way grander scheme. And again, I'm not great at this all the time, but there's some really cool organizations I wanted to tell you guys about. I'm guilty of this too, of living in greed and not being as good with my money as I should, or giving back as much as I should. And so, back when there was Occupy Wall Street movement, and this whole theory of the 1% owns everything, the richest 1% of the world is greedy and they need to help us. But we forgot in the Western world that we are basically the 1%, even low income people like me. And I'm not saying we need to stay there and live in scarcity, because that's its own disease as well. And that's something I'm learning to overcome, is how do I get more abundance in my life so I can actually take care of myself and my loved ones properly. And there's a hesitation towards that, oh, how dare me? Who am I to step up and earn a fair income? Who am I to get off of age? Who am I to work hard? And you get yourself surrounded in systems where people on disability, where I live in Onward Homes, they just want to never work and never contribute. And some of them can't mentally, but some of them just don't want to try. And I've seen the downward spiral of where that can go, and I've been in it, just volunteering instead of working. At least I volunteered, but still getting trapped in abusive relationships, or poor patterns in life, because I didn't step up and take back my power to earn money and to contribute in that way. Thinking caught in decision paralysis. And so the Secret movie, it talks about sometimes the more that we can give, the more will come back to us. And of course, we're not giving out of that mentality. We're giving to truly help and give, but it does come back. Honestly, it does. And so getting out and volunteering, or even if it's $5 a month to donate to charity, if we each donated a little tiny bit of our paycheck to these organizations, we could solve world hunger. We could solve deforestation. We could solve overpopulating our hunting in the ocean, and regrow the ocean species to a level where it once was. So I'm going to talk about these ones. So Children Believe is a really great organization that supports children around the world, helping them get out of trafficking situations. Within where we know from Sound of Freedom movie that within 4 blocks of where people live, there's a child being trafficked. And we might think, well, why should I spend my money to help someone? But like, you never know what could happen to you and your family. And there's this whole karma in play to all of this. It's like, if we don't step up to help this world, and we all know, and we can't play ignorant innocent anymore. We know shit's hitting the fan fast, and this is the 11th hour. And so when we live in balance and we use our money holistically and generously, the slightest little amount of help, $10 a month to one organization, that's $100 a year. If we each did that, that's like, Alexa, what's $10 times 1 million?
10 Canadian dollars times 1 million is 10 million Canadian dollars.
That should be easy in my head, and yet I couldn't figure it out. $10 million towards a good cause if each of us put $10 a month. And I know a lot of us can afford more. And so, Children Believe, they help all kinds of kids. I don't know everything they do. Cost, CAWST is a Calgary-based engineering firm, if you call it a firm. Anyways, they bring clean water and sanitation around the world, because there's literally countries and people in third world countries that poop into their water, drink the water, and are constantly having diarrhea and throwing up, not even knowing that their poop in the water is causing it. No one came into these places to actually tell them what was going on. And maybe we were born here in the Western world, privileged, blessed, and I'm really worried if I don't do my part, that my next life, maybe I'm gonna be like them because I didn't help. And that terrifies the shit out of me. And it breaks my heart every day to think about the living conditions that these people are living in. So I remember learning about them on World Toilet Day. They actually bring sanitation services to countries, and they did someone made this really cool video about these countries where they want to bring in toilets for the people, and the women are scared to use them because they're like, this is my culture. I walk every single day so far just to use the toilet and then walk all the way back. Or I have to carry water on my head just to have enough water to feed my family today. So if you take away that lifestyle, then what do I have left? This is part of my culture. But what if building new healthy cultures and communities actually is giving women maxi pads, tampons, or, building systems for them so that it's not so freaking hard for them, and bringing them water filters, devices so they can filter their water and not be sick, and, donating to organizations that actually take kids that are growing up in sweat lodges, or kids that are growing up without an education, and actually raising them with an education so they can get a good job and help the world and make enough money to feed their families. So COST is an amazing organization. You can volunteer with them too. One of my other ones, is Tree Canada. So you can actually go, I don't think that Tree Canada has one of these, but other websites do, where you can go online and you can research your carbon footprint. And I really recommend this to everybody. And it's hard to balance it out, exactly with Tree Canada, knowing how much you need to give to balance your lifestyle. But it'll ask you questions like the size of your home, how much you fly on a plane, how much you take a car to work, how much you buy new clothes, how much you buy secondhand clothes, how much you donate your old stuff to the secondhand shops, what kind of a car do you drive, do you take the bus, what is your lifestyle like, and asking you all these questions. And then you can find out like how many trees your lifestyle takes to cut down. And this is one of the simplest, most profound things that anybody could ever do to actually come back into balance of good and evil on the planet. And so you get your numbers, and then it'll tell you how many trees you need to plant in order to have a carbon neutral footprint. So a carbon neutral footprint, if each of us did our part, and it could be $10 a month, to reduce your carbon footprint so that you're neutral. And then companies can get on board with this, and families and organizations. And then, if we each did our part, because we're fighting against the environmental disaster, and the news is full of it, blah, 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 but they're not talking about the solutions. Of course they do sometimes, and they try to highlight positive stories, and I love and appreciate that too. I'm going to put this on hold. Speaking of global warming, my place has that sometimes. I put some shorts on. So, anyhow, if each of us in this country alone, let alone around the whole world, would donate even $10 a month or whatever our carbon footprint is, the more you want to fly, the more you can donate. The more you have, the more you can help. The less you have, maybe some months it's nothing. Maybe some months it's $5. Just something. And often we feel like we're living from a place of scarcity, as if oh my God, if I keep this money for myself and buy material things I think I want, I'll have my needs met. And we forget about our spiritual karmic needs as well, to be part of an earth that's symbiotic. So what is symbiosis? If you look at a forest, symbiosis is the trees and the fungi and the insects and the animals and the sun and the water and the air and the people all living together harmoniously. That's symbiosis. That's how nature works. Yes, some areas in nature are deserts, and you can look at Greening the Desert on YouTube, how you see permacultures will go into areas, permaculture people, like Jeff Lawton, I think is his name, and he'll turn a desert into a lush food forest where nothing would once grow. It's now a thriving place. And we need to do that for our communities. And we bring people together through culture, through music and dance and culture and celebrations and festive foods and festivals and poetry and creativity and live music and talks about food or movement through whatever our healing practices are, right? I'm not going to get into all of that today because that's another video. Dog wants a little more water. Hang on. All right. Water is given to dog. Re-upped her bowl. Drank some water myself. Taking care of the needs around the house. So we're so blessed to live in such an abundant place here in Canada and Calgary. These days, honestly, the future is not guaranteed to be this way. We have to make some real changes if we want this abundance to continue for our kids. And let's not approach this with fear and anger, saying I'm better than you and I'm right and you're wrong, and join us or die, or the whole world's gonna collapse, oh my God, we better be ready. And yes, it might be all true. And be calm and grounded about it and approach it with wisdom and compassion, and realize all the solutions are in our own backyards. How can we protect nature when we don't even spend time in nature? How can we even appreciate nature when we're inside all freaking day? The simplest little things, like going for a walk or sitting out front, going barefoot on the ground. And so remember that the practices that keep us balanced, because the more peace, joy, and centeredness we have in our heart, in our life walk, we pass that on to everyone around us. And when we're in pain and we're anxious and we're suffering because we don't want to do our work and step up in our inner healing work, in our work to help the world and find our niche and find what's problem we have a solution to. For years, I didn't really step out and actually ask the big question, what am I doing here? How do I make a difference? And so, giving a talk at Lights to Learn Herbal Medicine, working for the Schizophrenia Society, teaching yoga, poetry, taking care of my dog. Like, everything is a part of what makes us whole. And so that's Tree Canada. You can go and volunteer. It's freaking hard work to plant trees physically. Woo! I haven't done it. I digged out the grass in my backyard with my mom. I was like, this is insanely hard work, but valuable, beautiful. And so another subject near and dear to my heart is the ocean and the ocean life. So again, I don't want to fight against evil and say like, we have to change this or the world's gonna die. No. I just want to promote what is good and holistic and beautiful, which is freaking diversity in the freaking ocean, which is amazing. You see videos of people swimming with dolphins. Let us protect that. You see little videos of turtles crawling up on the sand. Let us protect them. They can't speak for themselves. And if they could, they would say, please help us. Please love us. Please take care of our water. Keep the plastics out of the water. I suck at that. I don't know. It's something I'm working on. So, one of my favorite organizations is called the Marine Conservation Institute. And typically what we do when we want to hunt fish for food, or whatever else they're using them for, their fat, I don't know, is going to one area, and it's cheaper and more easier. I don't know when this became more convenient, because it's really inconvenient to the whole picture, to go into the ocean and to over harvest that area until the whole population, it decreases to dangerous levels and species are becoming extinct, not only in water but on land. And there's ways to protect them in organizations that can help protect them. So the Marine Conservation Institute, what they do is they say, oh, you've overfished this area? Okay, no problem. We're going to protect it for a while and you can move somewhere else. Maybe you can come back later once the populations have came back to homeostasis. So if all of the ocean fisheries actually followed this protocol, we wouldn't worry about that. Myself, I don't eat fish anymore, so I eat hemp and chia for my essential fatty acids. Works amazing for my mind, my brain, my body. That's what I do, but you do you. At first I was like, okay, I'll donate to these guys so that I don't feel bad about eating fish. And then over time I realized that I can actually live without eating fish. And so I'm not saying you have to become vegan or anything. I'm just saying that there is, if every single person in Canada and around the world donated $10 a month to the Marine Conservation Institute, I think we could solve this issue. And so it's these little micro steps. And if someone wants to help me with this idea, it'd be really cool to like bring a charity together where it's like one place people have to donate. And then under this one branch, we have subcategories. So Marine Conservation Institute, Tree Canada, Tree Sisters, Cost, Children's Believe. And that way we feel like we're kind of hitting all of the targets that we want to support. And you maybe have an organization that you feel more called to. Maybe you were a prostitute living on the street and you want to help street women. Or maybe you were a drug addict like me living on the street and you want to donate to Aventa's Women's Center, you know? Or maybe you start your own charity. And just really coming back to that, like, we are one, but we are all one. I am another you and you are another me. And feeling that compassion for those less fortunate. And feeling that compassion for the future generation. And then, you know, buying toilet paper that's made from bamboo, because guess what? It grows faster than trees. And guess what? Bamboo toilet paper is amazing. It's just as good as those fluffy white kitten toilet paper ads you see on TV. What's that about, you know? What the heck are we doing to our minds? You know, we're bombarded with ads for pharmaceutical companies and Tim Hortons and unethical, corporations, and we have fast food restaurants popping up everywhere thinking, oh, this is the Canadian dream, the American dream, to get my coffee and Timbits from Tim Hortons this morning. This is awesome. And then we wonder why we're so freaking sick. And so they're poisoning our food with artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners, artificial chemicals. We want to clean our oven. Oh, we got to buy oven cleaner. Okay, now we want to wear makeup. Oh, we have to wear makeup that was made with chemicals that we absorb through our skin. And so coming back to product lines that are 100% natural, because we do absorb stuff through our skin. We even our skin needs to breathe. We wear synthetic clothes, and I do that too. Cheaper sometimes or easier, but just things like that. You wonder why pets are getting cancer cuddling up next to the warm dryer, off gassing all these fumes. And they're so coming back to the holistic natural lifestyle, it's not just the food we eat, it's all the products we use, and we're putting it into the water. And the more we can take herbal medicine and we put that into the water, no problem. If you go on What Goes Where on the City of Calgary website and you talk about pharmaceuticals, you're not even legally allowed to dump those down the drain or put them in the garbage because of the chemicals. Herbal medicine, yeah, no problem. And so it's coming back into that balance of how do we live in harmony with those around us? And how do we live in harmony with the earth? How do we ensure that the earth is around for future generations and generations to come? And so that's basically what I wanted to talk about. And let me think what else here. Filtering our water. I use this Santivia water filter Trev got me, and it's just really beautiful to have the clean water in my body. Sometimes I don't even use it because I'm in a hurry and it's out of water. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna freak out and be like, oh my god, I'm poisoning myself. It's like, no, whatever we eat, we can afford to eat and do. We keep telling ourselves, even if we have to eat pesticides, we can't afford organic food. We eat it with the intention and gratitude of thank you for this nourishment today. This is my medicine. We all just do the best we can. I'm not here to guilt people. I'm not here to shame people. I'm not here to put myself on a hierarchy. I'm here to just come from a place of love, to speak up for the earth that's hurting and the future generations. So I really hope that you'll join me. Can you please put in the comments if you want to hire me to give this speech at your venue, or if you want to start a rally? But I don't want to start an anti environment, I don't even know what to call it. I don't want to have picket signs that say stop polluting the earth. I want to have picket signs that say love the earth, protect what is good. Not end coal mines, but I recycle or I compost. If you do that, I'm not gonna have that one because I'm not 100% there yet. But anyways, I love you guys, and I'm grateful today that there's this beautiful avenue of opportunities to speak up for this. And the movie I watched today really made me realize how powerful Mother Teresa and Martin Luther King and Gandhi and these prophets and John Lennon and all these people and Bob Marley and Malcolm Sanders and all these people even today that are actually during COVID it was the freedom rallies. And if we could change from being a racist, bigoted country segregating black people to loving and including them, and then hiring one as the president passed, or then maybe we can start to raise our animals with enough space. If you eat animal products that are certified free range, that means that the animals were given a certain amount of space to ethically live. Free run means a step down, but free run is an egg term with chickens where they're given enough space but they're still inside. Free range means they're given enough space but access to outdoors. And so you can also look for the ethically raised labels. Yeah, and like, can you just please just make a comment if you watch this video the whole way through, and like tell me what you think the solution is, because I'm only one person, and if you want to join me and start like some sort of Facebook group community where we can take this speech out into the public, I would really, really love for that. Maybe we could be the next Martin Luther King for the environment. Blue orb. Seeing these orbs show up when there's a really powerful message. So, yeah, I really hope and pray that this message is well received and that we can really make a difference in the world. And I want you to know that whatever your lifestyle is, whatever your background and your history is, whoever you think you are, I'm not here to shame you. You're all doing amazing. You're all beautiful people with big hearts. And we all want the same thing: peace, joy, love, happiness, contentment, freedom. And we're all working for that in our own way. And some of us get really lost and afraid, and we start fighting against the world, and we forget who we are and who we were born as. So I want you to remember that you have beautiful, beautiful gifts to share with this world. You have a beautiful heart that can help people, even if it's one neighbor or one small act of kindness. Or maybe it's something huge, Whatever it is, get out there and do it. Share your message. Share what's in your heart. I heard this saying once, and it says like, the world doesn't need people to save it. It needs people to come alive. And so I'm kind of learning about what that means too. And I think what it means is finding ways to celebrate life through the struggle. Finding ways to appreciate life and to see the beauty all around us and to see how blessed we are. And I really believe that as humans, we are evolving. Our consciousness is evolving. We're coming into a space where we're learning to be harmonious with the world around us, even through the books we read or the podcasts we listen to or the communities that we gather in. That's as much as a part of the solution as all of this other stuff, as the physical resources and what we eat and everything. It's like, how are we feeding our minds? How are we spending our time? Are we loving those around us? And if we're not, or we're not surrounding ourselves with people that can love us in the way that we need and deserve, that's a whole other darkness that this world can throw us into. And trust me, I've been there. And so it's not just about planting trees. You can plant all the trees in the world, but you need to be compassionate to yourself and those around you. And being in an abusive relationship in the past, it took me a lot of work to get to where I am, and I had to read relationship books to learn boundaries and how to take care of myself and stand up for my rights. So as a woman, I had to learn how to use my voice and take my power back in very unhealthy situations, to step out of it, to step into a role as a healer and teacher through the Schizophrenia Society or through peer school or through herbal medicine and teaching that, or through my songs that I write and the poetry that I write that hopefully has a positive impact on the world. Because when we step into like the creative force, the force of like creating new life and getting our voice heard and creating something that was born of nothing, creating something new and beautiful that others can appreciate, that's as much as a part of the solution. And coming back into our spiritual practices of prayer or meditation or yoga or journaling or singing, and coming back to the like, how do I take care of myself today? Because sometimes we can't even get out of bed, and it's like, what can I do today that will actually make me want to get out of bed? And sometimes it's not helping people right away. Sometimes it's helping us. How do I nourish myself, my body, my mind, my spirit, my finances, my purpose, my social life? All of these things are factors, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. How do we build our life on a very solid foundation so that all of our needs are met? And then we work our way up the pyramid. Okay, basic needs, food. I don't know these too well, but like food, shelter, clothing, safety, water, money. And then, working our way up, like community, purpose, spirituality. And then working our way up there, helping the humans evolve, spiritual attainment, enlightenment, wisdom. And then working our way up to the state of like the Buddha attained, right? Through meditation, of like, okay, now I have control of my thoughts and my mind. Instead of letting the monkey brain take over, through breathing exercises, meditation and stuff, we actually retrain our consciousness to come back into like a state of like peace and balance. And so I'm not there yet, and I'm trying to work on it, and it's hard. And you guys, I've been through two suicide attempts, living on the street, being addicted to meth and other drugs, being hospitalized 7 times, so for OCD and suicide attempts, and then for twice on drug-induced psychosis, and then 3 times for schizophrenia, 4 times. And then having to learn to rebuild my life. And every day I'm still learning, like what are my values? Like, what are my values? And why do I constantly have a conflict of what's my values today? And like, not being able to stick with them. Like, oh my God, I just went to Tim Hortons again, things like that. And then learning, like, how do I break my mind free from addictions? And so for me, that's where the yoga and singing helps, right? Is to step away from my phone addiction and my food addiction into a place of like, how do I give myself the love and nourishment that I need, that I'm seeking through these other things, so that I don't actually need to step out and do these other things, right? And so that's a holistic path on its own, and I'm still learning about what I need and questioning myself all the time, and like not drinking enough water some days, and all the little things. And I feel like if I could just get everything in alignment, like spend enough money on organic nourishing food so I'm not running out halfway through the month or whatever, or not supporting unethical organizations. The more fast food, and this is hive consciousness, the more fast food places you have in your neighborhood, the more obese people in your neighborhood. And those people don't even have to be eating at the fast food places. It's like group mentality. And so shifting away from the scarcity, like I need to consume as much as I can in case there's a famine, the fear, or like I don't want to deal with my feelings, and so I'm just going to eat a whole bunch of food because I haven't actually sat with my trauma and worked through it in healthy ways, and I want to escape. And what's the easiest way to feel better in the moment is to reach for those Doritos or the donuts or whatever it is, right? And so they did rat studies. Gabriel Mate talks about this. He's one of the best addiction specialists from BC, and rat studies, and being like, oh, okay, so there was a bunch of rats that were given lots of space, friends to play with, fun things to do, exercise, games, puzzles, and they're given morphine and water, and those rats would drink a lot more water than morphine versus those that didn't have that stuff. They would go for the morphine because we all just want to feel better. And drugs, unhealthy drugs, are a very poor coping mechanism because they trick us into thinking that we're feeling better, when in the long run they usually are dangerous and make us feel worse. But we don't always have the insight, and sometimes we need to learn by experience of what works and what doesn't. And so, then there's the whole topic of psychedelics, and like, with people with schizophrenia it can be dangerous, but other people, and before I had schizophrenia, it could have been like a mind-opening medicine. And so it's like this huge consciousness now of using psychedelics in therapeutic settings for PTSD or microdosing or um, fluorescence with psychedelics and all these things that in the past, science and the government tried to control and weaponize and say you can't practice this because this is really bad. But now, as humans have evolved, we've legalized marijuana, we've legalized clinical use of psychedelic mushrooms for PTSD. And then, people are selling these products in the market and talking about them in the public without being afraid of going to jail. And I tread very lightly on this topic, because psychedelics can be very, I'm not allowed to promote them where I work, especially with people with schizophrenia. So um, there's these things that are medicine for some and for others they're not. So it's a matter of knowing which category you fit into. When I did my practicum with Terry Woolard, it was like, oh, um, this was before marijuana was legalized, and he would say, half my patients that are on marijuana, I'd like to take them off, and half of them that are not on it, I'd like to put them on it. So he had that insight to see into people's lives as to like whose is it helping, whose is it an unhealthy crutch, or whose might it help, and knowing which one of those people you are. And that's the same thing with any kind of holistic medicine or fad diet or lifestyle. So we just got to try it and then have the awareness of like, how is this affecting me? And so that's huge. And so each of us needs to try different things, and that's where the education, like Light Cellar, is really good at, our community foods, or the Alive magazine. They have a community foods, of just like educating people to take their health back into their hands. And so if you look at like when I go into my doctor's office, you have a good doctor, they're going to do this, and Terry did this as a herbalist. Before you come into the room with the patient, you put the patient in the room for a little while first. They get to spend some time there by themselves, and then the practitioner comes in. And the reason they do that is because we want patients to always be the final decision makers and in control and lead the decisions in their health. Yes, we can seek guidance, and often we need to, but in this culture, often we give our power away to the doctors, and we don't even want to look at nutrition. Doctors take such little time in their medical study to study nutrition. I'm not saying doctors are evil. They're good people that want to help. My sister's a doctor. And so it's like, I someone told me about a study where patients that listen and do everything their doctors say without question it actually have lower health outcomes than people that take it back into their own health. Like my grandmother's doctor, who renounced all herbal medicine, or my psychiatrist in the psych ward that saw me come off my meds and relapse, and then told me and drilled it into my head that if you ever take herbal medicine again, I won't work with you. So I began to take on that belief system, and I had a partner, ordered a Wild Rose College book in the mail. I was super excited. I opened it up and he saw it and went, and then he ran out saying, oh my God, that's herbal medicine, that's evil, I'm Christian, blah, blah, blah. Not acknowledging the deep wisdom that's in the practice of herbal medicine and the deep nourishment we can get from these plants. And then I took on those belief systems. I also had a pharmacist say, oh, herbs cause more side effects because there's more chemicals in them, and pharmaceuticals have less chemicals and thus cause less side effects. I was like, what? That's the opposite of what they taught me in school. Usually, you have to look for nutrient, drug, and medical interactions, but I always learned that herbs often are more gentle and have less side effects. And it depends on the situation, of course, right? But it got drilled in my head so much that after a while I couldn't even take herbs. I'd start getting a throat clearing tic. I start getting short of breath, even just talking about it. It's like, and then recently working with like holistic healing again and starting to write about herbal medicine and study it and read it again, and working with affirmations from Louise Hay book on breathing, like I love my life, it's safe to live, it's my birthright to live freely, and I'll give thanks and bless the herbs and ask for them, for the protection and the healing from them. And I'll say these herbs are helping my gut, my lungs, my brain, my body, my spirit. And then it is so, because I'm telling myself, and as we tell ourselves these words, we're actually restructuring within us the patterns of the water. If you look at the Dr. Emoto studies, and he would say the words love to water and then freeze it and look at it under a microscope, and it forms these beautiful symmetrical fractal snowflake like patterns, harmony, truth, peace, joy, all these words that we know feel so good to hear. And so I'm telling myself every day, like, I'm a beautiful person, I'm doing my work. And then I say I'm so happy and grateful that I have this, this, and this, and this in my life. And I write my life as if I already have it, and I prophesize, and it's like sending a prayer and believing I already have it, and so we actually change our structure of our brain and our body and our mind and our spirit through the words and the beliefs and the stories that we tell ourselves. And we can convince ourselves of anything. If you think you're a bad person and you go out in the world, you're going to find evidence everywhere that's going to prove it to be true, even if it's not true. You think you're a good person and you tell yourself, I'm a good person, I'm making a difference, I'm following my heart, I'm giving my gifts, and it's not just thoughts. We have to do the actions behind these. And that's where cognitive behavioral therapy is so important. And they use this in the psychiatric centers, in the hospitals, in the clinics. It's the number one therapy for mental health. And it changed my life. And it's thought checking. There's the triangle. So behaviors, emotions, and thoughts. And you change one and the other two change. So change your thoughts, it'll change your emotions and your behaviors. Change your behavior, changes your emotions and your thoughts. Change your emotions, it changes your thoughts and behaviors. And they say the easiest one to change is your behaviors, right? But it's true, we can work on all levels. So when we do behaviors that actually make us feel good, we want to do more of them, So you talk about people with severe depression that are waiting around for someone to come into their life, which might or may not happen, to tell them what to do, to change. They're waiting for one day to just wake up and automatically feel better, And they're like, once I feel better, then I'm going to leave the house, and they're waiting around to feel better. They don't realize it takes action to feel better. Be one small thing, like I'm going to step outside today. For the next 2 weeks, I'm going to step outside my place once a day. And then maybe it's like, today I'm going to do a walk to the end of the block and back. That's it. Or I'm going to sit and open all my mail that have been sitting and piling up, and I'm going to pay my bills today. Maybe I'm going to call a friend and ask for help. Or maybe I'm going to join a support group or volunteer or get a job. And so changing one single behavior, that's how you change the behaviors. How do you change the thoughts? Good question, right? And so, okay, this is one they use in the psych ward. Thank you, Al. And it's like, okay, she growls. Okay, so you're at work and your boss walks past your office rolling his eyes. And you're like, oh my God, I messed up. What did I do wrong? I saw him roll his eyes. He must have been rolling his eyes at me. Oh, must have been that paper I handed in. Oh man, such a terrible employee. Oh my God, what if they fire me? Oh no. Okay, now I need to work harder. And you're freaking out and building these stories in your head. But what if your boss actually just had a little bit of acid reflux again? And he's like, oh, I'm so fucking, excuse my language, I'm so freaking frustrated with this disease. Oh my God. Or maybe his wife just called him and said, hey, we need to go back to counseling. It's time to talk. Or his kid just got pulled off the freaking hockey team because he cussed out another player. Like, you don't know. And you start making up stories like, oh, it's because of me, and taking things personally. And so your thought check, maybe you do an experiment. Maybe you actually go to your boss and you say, hey, I'm just a little worried because I noticed you walked past my door and you rolled your eyes. Is it something that I did? Can we talk about this? And then maybe he's like, actually, thank you for bringing that up, actually has nothing to do with you. And maybe it does have to do with you, and maybe it's something you did that you weren't aware of, and then you work through it. And so CBT is about thought checking. So it's like, I could not get a new job and live in poverty and live in isolation, right? And be like, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve a job. Money's evil. I don't want to make money anyways. I don't want to be a part of that evil system. And then you start to think about it, and you weigh the pros and cons of getting a job or not getting a job, and you list it out, and you think it through. Or maybe you start to like hypothesize. I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to go to an interview. I'm going to hand out one resume today at the store. And you hypothesize. How will I know if this is helping me? Well, maybe I'm using the money to do good things, like going out for a coffee with a friend, or giving to charity, or buying myself better food. You know, maybe I actually start to feel better because I feel like I'm contributing to society. And so that's all of the evidence for that this thought is true versus untrue. So the true thoughts would be like, maybe getting out of the house will help my self-esteem. Maybe I'll make a new friend at work and not feel so alone. You know, and then the thoughts that are the negative ones that you're trying to challenge and overcome is like, but what if I fail and get fired? What if I make a fool of myself? And you can list these out too. List your fears out. What if I start doing drugs because I have more money? I fall back to that pattern. What if I stay up all night like I usually do, video gaming, and get fired? And it's all realities versus unrealities. But the thing is, you never know what's going to be real until you actually do the thing and you face the fear. And so CBT can actually change our minds a lot. And it's where we can do experiments. So if you think you have schizophrenia or something, and you think someone's stealing your mail, which is like not too unrealistic for someone with schizophrenia to come up with ideas like that, you know? And it's like, is there a way I can prove that this isn't true? And so you send yourself a letter in the mail, and then if you get it, you're like, oh, maybe no one is stealing my mail. Weird. Okay, maybe that wasn't a rational thought. And like then the emotions, you know, changing the emotions on the triangle is like, I'm gonna do singing for an hour. I'm gonna do an hour of yoga or like guided meditation. So I wanted to get into my story about psych wards. It's like rambling on in this 3-hour documentary. Well, let's see how far we go. And so, as somebody with schizophrenia, definitely been in the psych wards a lot. And they were a really deeply healing place for me. And of course, I had to do my best to stay out of them and stay on my own feet and build my own life outside of the hospitals. But at times I really needed them. And my mom would often bring me there, or one time I just went there myself. And what are they like? So what is it like in the hospital? It was like, the first time I went in was for a suicide attempt, and they kept me there for 6 months as I finished my junior high school. And I met the most amazing friends there on the unit, and we just really supported and loved on each other, and the staff was incredible. It was good food, and we would walk down to the movie store back when they had movies, and we'd rent a movie and bring it back to watch. We'd do art and vision boards, and we would do like, you know, like pizza nights where they ordered us in pizza. You know, really recommending pizza at this point in my life, but delicious as it is. But yeah, it was a very healing place. And yeah, we'd play games. Like one time we were like, let's hide on the nurses and see what happens. So we would like hide in our little like chest of like our closet and like just play games like that. And like after 6 months, it was like, hey, I'm ready to go try again in the world, and ended up attempting suicide again, thankfully surviving. And then yeah, ended up on really bad drugs like meth and stuff, and was in the hospital twice for drug-induced psychosis, but they brought me back down to like reality. And then when my schizophrenia started, I was hospitalized for 6 months, and really a healing place for me. And they taught me CBT, and they taught me art therapy and meditation group and goal setting and exercise and spending time in nature and, board games and stuff like that, cooking. And then went out to Claire's home for a while, where we did some gardening in the horticulture place. We did some yoga. We had a pool. We had like this beautiful nature grounds so we could spend time in. And art therapy, we were making like dream catchers. We were doing woodworking. There was also the addiction component people could go there for. We would eat meals together, and I met Daniel there, and we started like every day just playing music together, like guitar and singing and dancing and drumming. And he ended up getting released and being a lifelong friend of mine, and then actually got readmitted to a hospital and has been there ever since, which is awful. So prayers to him and to all the people that don't make it. The statistics are not good. 1 in 10 people with schizophrenia attempt suicide, 50% of them succeed. I have never been suicidal as someone, well, almost was once actually, but that's before I found communities to be a part of. Then I found Potential Place and Carnet Center, and like started working at Community Foods, and then like all these things to heal me. But and then I fell off the rails for 7 years in an abusive relationship. And it's just crazy to look past on my life and see all of the pain and suffering that I had to go through and ask, like, why did I have to go through all of this? Where is the lesson here? What is it? And maybe it's just to make this video and talk about it, and maybe it's like to help others. Maybe I needed to step into my power and learn to live creatively and balanced. I'm still learning. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing here every day? I'm like journaling about it here and there, like what am I doing with my life? There's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be a better way. What is this way? And I've been searching everywhere for it. Everywhere on the entire spectrum of experiences, and I'm still searching. I haven't got it figured out. I can make these videos and talk about wisdom and life experience, but then I come back at the end of the day and like, how do I truly feel about myself? And it always comes up with a lack of love and a lack of confidence and a lack of direction and a lack of clarity. And maybe these videos will help me figure that out, and so it's really an adventure. It's a grand cosmic play. It's entertainment, but we have to take it seriously and step up and find solutions. And I'll sit and journal and ask myself, what do I need to know today? And I just write it out. Whatever comes, I just write it out. And I'll find answers sometimes, and sometimes I won't. I'm just like, what is this? Why am I writing about the same thing over and over? But as we do speeches at universities, high schools about schizophrenia at work, and we talk about our stories, and when we tell our stories, we can kind of see the whole picture of like, oh yeah, maybe I learned something here. Maybe I have something to share. And as we share our stories, we begin to open our hearts and let other people inside to see our shadow side and our darkness and our pain and all the ways we fall short. But then we also can see, have compassion on all the ways that we actually help the world. And hopefully that's enough at the end of the day. All we can ask is to leave a legacy. All we can ask is to leave the world a little bit better than we found it, and not worse. All we can ask is to stay in the calm, peace, joy, and loving state that our souls so deeply long to be a part of. So finding communities and moments and people and experiences that bring that into our life can be super healing. And so I was in Rocky View and then got sent to Claire's home, and then I ate a plant in the horticulture place that they thought maybe was poisonous, or we didn't know what we were eating, and then they sent me back to the hospital saying you're too sick, because I also started telling them about all these weird thoughts I was having that I'd never shared before that. And they're like, if you keep saying this, we'll lock you up. You're violent. You're going to hurt people. I'm like, no, it's just a thought. I have no urge or desire. But they're like, you're dangerous. Let's send you back to the hospital. But it was just these intrusive, dark thoughts that I had Like, what if I hurt somebody? I was so afraid I would hurt somebody. Of course, I never did. I was never violent. And violence is not a symptom of schizophrenia, even though everybody thinks it is, because the news portray us that way. Yes, if you're violent before you have schizophrenia, then you'll continue to be violent probably, but, or you'll heal. And if you weren't violent, then you probably won't be. And we're more likely to be abused than be abusers. But the way that media portrays us as people with schizophrenia is that we're dark and we need to be isolated from society, and that we shouldn't be given jobs with power or privilege because we'll ruin them, So I've been fired from jobs where I was doing amazing and they loved me, I was like, organic gardening, and then all of a sudden they're like, find out I have schizophrenia and fire me the next day. And I'm like, why did you fire me? And they're like, oh, well, it's too hard to like give you rides from place to place. I'm like, but, is that really true, or is this stigma? And so we have to be careful who we tell, and that's the problem with this world, is there's so much like judgment and stigma over it, and like, oh, we're just gonna let you go because you're gonna embarrass us, or you're gonna make a mistake, or you're gonna have a psychotic break and ruin our reputation. And fair enough, people are just making decisions to like keep their business running smooth so that they can feed their families. Like I get that. It's not out of like pure hatred of like, I want to hurt you, so I'm going to fire you. And it's not always about that. But it is hurtful, and it is something that we need to work through as a society. And there's some companies that actually intentionally hire people from marginalized communities, people of color, people of different races, people of different ethnicities, people of different language barriers or statuses, or whatever it is, mental illness, history of addictions, people that were homeless, and they're like, hey, I want to actually hire these people because sometimes these people can be even better employees. That's where the whole peer support movement started, right? Through the peer schools that are happening, training people with lived experience with mental illness to help other people, and training people who have lived experience with addictions to be addiction workers, or training people of caregive to people with addictions or mental illness, and like helping them step up and to like actually like make a difference in the world, and giving us places to do that, because maybe we went through all of it so that we could help people. It's not a wasted opportunity if we actually come full circle and we use our experiences to make us stronger, and to use our gifts that we wouldn't have otherwise discovered or developed hadn't we not gone through the struggle. But may we create a future on this earth where we don't have to actually create struggle, right? Where we don't have to create problems to ascend or to evolve or to grow, because we need to go through difficult experiences in order to like realize who we are and what our calling is, and find ways to help people. And you wouldn't be able to step into the role of a healer or an angel, or a doctor or a pharmacist or a herbalist or a psychiatrist or a holistic healer, without having a world that has these problems. And then you become part of the solution and the helper. So we kind of need those situations in order to step up and rise to be the angels on earth that we can become, that we can't otherwise become unless we go through these experiences. And then we need to choose which side we're on. Like, there's a war going on. Do we want to contribute to it? Or do we want to be the medics and help people? Like, are we fighting evil, or are we helping to protect what is good, right? And so there's this great balance on the planet of problems and solutions. So we want to be always solution oriented, right? We want to be in that place of like love and service. And so I'm gonna leave you guys at that. That's my thoughts on how to heal the world. Please let me know what your thoughts are, and if you want to be part of some sort of team where we can educate people about this kind of stuff and create topics and discussions around it in a way of like, let's protect what is good, not fight against what's evil, send me a comment or reach out. I don't know how to do this. I've never really stepped up to actually figure this out, so I can't do it alone. Maybe you see this video and you want to tag me and say, hey, I'm gonna make a video on what I think the solution is, and I would love to watch your video. I'd love for you to even make one if I can't have time to watch it, just to know like what people's ideas are and bounce them off each other and do some heartstorming. It's like the step up from brainstorming, you know. And so, you know, and let me know in the comments, like, what is your gifts? What is your solution that you're actually contributing with? Thank you guys. Love you.